about Final Fantasy VII Remake. This is the spoiler review, so it's going to be spoilers for all of that stuff, plus my thoughts going forward. We're going to go over the good about this game, the bad about this game, and then the ugly about this game. So yeah, but before I do that, I'm going to let you guys know that I've personally been dealing with a death in the family, as in the actual, immediate death in the family. So that's the reason why some of the uploads haven't been coming on time, because I've been trying to cope with that and stuff like that. But yeah, okay, let's talk about what you came here for. For Final Fantasy VII Remake, I'm gonna let you know ahead of time. The reason why a lot of people dislike the game is because a lot of people really just wanted a one-to-one direct translation of Final Fantasy VII with all the significant story beats in it, and like updated Crisis Core graphics. Yeah, granted, I kind of wanted that too, but I am not technically disappointed with what I got. I know a lot of the common arguments are like, this is Final Fantasy, this is Final Fantasy VII with a Final Fantasy 15 and Kingdom Hearts 3 cover up. I can somewhat agree with that, but at the same time, it feels like its own unique game in its own right, so I can't really complain about that. But yeah, let's talk about the good about this game. The music, most of the scenes in this game, they just have phenomenal music. Like, even the renditions, the remixes, they even threw out stuff that I personally didn't think that was actually possible. Like, for example, my favorite jukebox song is Tango of Tears. Like, I don't like the whole song, but that little opening plus the little thumbnail they had of the couple doing the tango, I thought that was phenomenal. Alright, I like specifically what they did with some of the backgrounds. I'm going to talk about the one that's in this video in a minute. That's going to be in the ugly part of the game, but yeah. So, for right now, I felt like the little areas that they did them amazingly. Specifically Wall Market, they did Wall Market amazingly. Let's see. The upper plate, for what little bit of the game you do get to go to the upper plate, section for, I felt they did that amazingly. The Shinra building, I felt they could have added a little bit more to it, but for what we got to see, it was, breathtaking and amazing at the same time. Now, okay, now that we went over the good parts of the game, I mean, the special limit breaks, all of that stuff, that's fantastic. The graphics for each of the characters, and little updated, bits and pieces that they added in the here and there for like all of the characters. Like, for example, I know a lot of people didn't really, cling to Sephiroth's new, design, but personally, for me, I thought it was amazing, like how they did the little intricacies within his little shoulder armor, and how if you look at the lever on his coat, it's like you actually see the little, lines inside of it, which is supposed to represent the whole angel wing, metaphor for him. But yeah. Let's see, what else can I talk about? And for certain characters like Rufus, granted, Rufus didn't talk as much as he did in the original, and I noticed that they gave some of his lines over to Heidegger, like, who's this, like, merry band of people, Heidegger says near the end. Yeah, personally, I felt that they could have did a bit more with Rufus's character, but I did like how they changed him up. Now, okay, one thing I didn't particularly like about Rufus is, how is Rufus in Dark Nation? In this game, they call him Dark Star, and that just didn't really cling to me as much as Dark Nation. Like, to me, when you hear the name Dark Nation, that's a badass name for a pet. Dark Star? That just kind of makes Rufus sound like a super edgy, like whiny entitled kid, and that's the thing. Rufus is nowhere like that, In the original FF7, this dude's like hardcore, while President Shinra's all like, oh, I'm gonna like literally take over the world with, with money and stuff. Rufus is all like, fuck that. I'm just gonna have everybody fear me. It's too much to do it like my old man does it. So yeah, I personally like that, and since this is the spoiler review, I will let you know now, I was absolutely elated to find out that Sephiroth was going to be the final boss for the game. Granted, I at first, like, when everybody was data mining the game, I had this inherent fear that the, final villain was going to be like a Genova battle. And then, like, everybody would have just been like, dude, where's Sephiroth? But yeah, all in all, I'm kind of glad that they did the game justice with that. Now, okay. And the good part about it, another good part about it is, I will bring it up now, the whole ending with Zack, I think that was just fucking phenomenal. Like, to me, Zack, is a good character. I actually like his character. I can't say I like him more than Cloud, but he is definitely up there, especially with the performance he gave in Crisis Core. Now, let's go ahead and get into the bad part of this game. For example, okay, this is just my personal opinion, but I felt like they padded the in-between dungeons a little too much in this game. Like, for example, let's see, how can I say this? If you go from, Sector 6 slums, then you go through the area that leads to the sewer, then you go through the sewer that leads to another area, and then it leads to another area inside the sewers, and, all of it is just sewers and shit. Like, granted, I get it, Midgard's a massive area. It's going to be a whole lot of underground areas. But I felt like if they did as much time padding out the in-between dungeons as they would have added to actual content, I felt that, Final Fantasy VII Remake would have extended a lot further than Midgard. But I get it, they wanted to specifically, put the whole story within the Midgard retrospective. So the thing is, most people are going to essentially want to deal with, the stuff that's in Midgard. Now, another bad part about this is, to me, I felt they put too much emphasis on characters like Don Corneo, which was back in the day, like, he was a nobody in the original FF7 retroscope of things. Because, see, like, when it comes to, like, Shinra's huge. Don Corneo's just, like, he's, like, a lower tier, like, guy dealing with Shinra and stuff, so. And, like, they even took characters like Koch and the Scotch from the original FF7, and then they tried to, like, make them into these overhyped badasses, but yet, if you play the actual OG FF7, they're nobodies. So I kind of felt like they kind of did a misservice with that. But granted, I can see why they overhyped Wall Market and tried to make it like into a bigger area, because they knew fans wouldn't be happy if Wall Market wasn't as booming as it was in the actual game. Now, another bad thing I want to talk about this game particularly is the fact that, like, let's see, they added characters in the in-between who really practically don't have that much going for them. Like, for example, like, the whole, like, Sector 5 area with Oats and the kids and stuff. I liked the fact that they had, like, the kids having their own little playground area. I thought that was cool and stuff. I thought the character of Oats was cool, but it's, it's just the fact of the matter is, in the large scope of things, like, you barely deal with them for just little to anything. Like, if you weren't doing the side quests, like, even their teacher, Mrs. Folia, you wouldn't have known that she was a girl who's trying to work at the Honeybee Inn and who idolized Biggs. You wouldn't have known that. And, it's just simple stuff like that. Now, another bad thing I will mention, and this is a personal complaint, really. You know how, like, when you go to meet Hojo and stuff, and then you fight, Sample, I can't remember his name. Let's just say he looks like the Tyrant, but he has he has the little Genova skull tattooed on his side of his face. Basically, once you go in that area, you can't go back to the other areas of the Shinra area, where in the original FF7, you can go back and forth as you please. So personally, I thought that was kind of, like, not cool. And I get it, they're supposed to, put the emphasis on the fact that, well, technically, you're basically at the end line of the game. And let's see, if there's any other bad thing I can think about at the moment. There isn't much to do once you actually, complete the game, do the hard mode stuff. It's like, the replay value is like, it's not really so much there. Now that we're done, I'm going to go to the ugly part of this game. Now, okay, for a game as high budget as this is, and for as much as they do with this game, I feel backgrounds like these, which is just, you could tell there's just still images just wrapped around the textures and stuff. I felt like they could have done better than this. They really could have done better than this. Like, I like the fact that, you got the sky and stuff and, like that, but it's just the fact that you could tell these backgrounds are fake for areas like this. It's like, I really, really, really didn't want to bring this up, but to some people, that's exactly how it is. Now, what I felt they could have done to make this better is they could have added like a smoke effect or a cloud effect in the background to, give the background some sort of life. But for right now, it looks stale as shit. Like, for example, if I run to the left and then I run to the right, it just seems frozen and, unreal. Like, look down here. You see how there's smoke and stuff? They could have did that for the entire background and it would have just made it pop. But for now, not really. Let me see. Let me think of another ugly part of the game. Shoot. Oh, yeah. There's only one other ugly part in the game, and I don't want to go too in-depth with it because, I mean, granted, you're going to go across it when you're, it's like when you're heading to the area before the reactor, the underplate, you look down, it's like they just stripped the, the background picture straight out of classic FF7. Now, to me, I personally didn't like that, but it is what it is. that's enough of the ugly part of the game. I'm not gonna be as harsh as some other YouTubers, which I'm not gonna lie. A lot of them did make me laugh when they said that like if you buy this game, then like they consider you to be a moron. But the thing is, I personally don't. I feel like if you bought this game, you're either a hardcore fan of Final Fantasy VII or you're just somebody who wants to really know what the hell's going on. Now that that's out of the way, let's talk about how I feel about the ending. The ending to me, I felt was perfect and stuff because it's like, granted, like I wouldn't have done the three whisperers, like people are saying that those whisperers are supposed to be a future timeline of Barrett, Tifa, and Cloud. See, the thing is, it might be the case, but at the same time, I personally felt like I felt they did this perfectly, especially with the whole bike scene and stuff. And they added Motorball in to the point where he wasn't specifically an annoying boss to fight. He was there, and then he actually made the scene a lot better. Now, what I feel going forward is this is just me, and maybe this is my insight of it, but I think Sephiroth is going to be a good guy in the future games. I'm going to tell you why I think that. It's because Sephiroth's whole ordeal within this particular game was defying destiny, defying fate, and all of that, and he needed Cloud's help to do it. The thing is, I know what people are going to say, if Sephiroth becomes a good guy, then who's going to be the main antagonist? It's clear as day that, whatever's behind the Whisperers, all of that and stuff, that's clearly going to be antagonists for a future game. And when I say whatever's behind the Whisperers, I don't mean necessarily whatever's behind the Whisperers that Sephiroth sent after you. I mean whatever's behind the Whisperers in general, like each and every story beat, like for example, Hojo was telling Cloud like, oh, you're not a soldier, then he gets carried away. It's stuff like that. Basically, I feel in the upcoming parts of this remake, well, you can't even call it a remake anymore. I'm going to say what everybody else been saying on all the other channels. It's a reimagining at this point. Now, in my honest opinion, I think they might, do stuff like put Goddess Minerva in it. Like they might put, I feel Genesis might come back in the future as well, as because they took all the Crisis, now why say Crisis Core, all the before Crisis story beats, and they put them in this game. So either way you look at it, it's gonna be a game that's gonna encompass all of that crap. So as far as I'm concerned, I think like old school Avalanche is gonna have a major part in this. I'm not sure if the players from old school Avalanche like Fajito and the stuff, like I'm not even sure how you pronounce that guy's name. I'm not sure if he's gonna be in it. I'm pretty sure Veld's probably gonna be in the future. I'm pretty sure Elf's probably gonna be in the future. Because the thing is, there's a bunch of different Avalanche cells and stuff, and because even when they the scene where you're about to meet Roche for the second time, the old school Avalanche members came in, and so they clearly got a presence in this game. And Wutai, I don't think Wutai is gonna seem as useless as it was in old school Final Fantasy VII. I think they're probably gonna add a bunch of custom characters regarding that too, and they're probably gonna make like Yuffie into some resistance leader rather than as some classic thief. Vincent's probably gonna be in the game as well, but I mean, he's probably still going to have his tragic backstory involving Hojo and stuff, because I don't think you can actually, honestly to God, change that up without it seeming a bit weird. But yeah, as far as I'm concerned, in the future games, I think they will alter stuff up a bit, because like, for example, in this game, Sephiroth stabbed Barrett, so which old school Final Fantasy fans did not know as of yet, that when Sephiroth stabbed Barrett, that was supposed to be an old original Final Fantasy story beat, much like when the party returns from, for the air raid on Midgar for the second time, that like literally everybody was supposed to die except, the 3 people you had in your party. So I think something like that might happen in this one, but the overarching theme in this particular game, without sounding too drawn out and convoluted, it's basically a Final Fantasy that's supposed to have the characters defy the fate that they were in, because if you consider the previous final battle in this particular game, that the fate of the original FF7 was supposed to be the fate of what happens if they were to fail today. So what I think is they're going to probably try to create an ending where, like, I ain't going to say everybody lives happily ever after, but the major, tragedies of the past are actually fixed. Like, for example, Aerith dying, for example, Sephiroth's madness. I think they're all going to do that. And in my honest opinion, I might lose you guys on this note, but I feel like the next game is going to involve like a whole bunch of alternate timelines. It's going to be like Chrono Trigger Final Fantasy VII Edition, and when I say Sephiroth's going to be a good guy, I think it's probably going to be after the party defeats him again and stuff. And then, Cloud's gonna ultimately realize that, he's trying to change this fate and stuff, and, basically he's probably gonna talk some sense into him. Why? Because that's how all these mangas work. With that being said, this is Samurai, over and out. Later.